So picture this. You're a long-haul space trucker on a supply ship, a long way from your next stop at civilization. You're down in the cargo hold. Maybe you're cleaning or checking a supply manifest or securing loose crates. Doesn't matter. What does matter is you are not alone. You catch movement in a shadowy corner. You shout to your troublemaking crewmate, "It wasn't funny the first time," and you go over there to kick his ass. You round the corner, and that's when you see them. Those eyes. Glowing. Amber in color. Approaching slowly. You can't move. You can't scream. You can't even remember your own name. You wake up later on the floor. Dazed. Groggy. Why were you down here again? Right, the thing you were doing. Doesn't matter what. You must have dozed off. There's only one thing on your mind, though, as you go back to your duties. Damn, I want to make some babies.
Better alive, you're coming with me.
ZX Spectrum Commodore 128 and 64. I hit the floor, I hit the shore. Got gaming skills from days of yore. I close the dead computer roll.
Welcome to Beefsnake Nerdcast. I'm Bolter. And today we're talking about one of the older, yet newer facets of the Warhammer 40k universe. Conspiracy theorists, religious fanatics, and rebellious malcontents, rejoice! It's the Genestealer cults, here to save you from the horrible life you have under the shackles of oppressive imperial rule. But not really. So, something important I need to impress here about the appeal of the Genestealer cults, or any cult or treacherous force of humanity for that matter, is that the Imperium of Man, the human team in 40k, as a whole, sucks. Trillions upon billions of humans are under its rule, and the average citizen is an uneducated factory worker or farmer working on something that is considered more valuable than their own life. That is all they will ever know, and those are the lucky ones. They might not get conscripted into the Imperial Guard and go die by the thousands. Or worse. But think about it. If all you know is put part A into component C, praise the Emperor, whoever that is, and the governor eats better than you do, one of those things might start pissing you off, if you think about it a little too much. Blessed is the mind too small for doubt, after all. Now, human-led rebellions in the Imperial worlds are not unheard of. Hell, they're actually pretty common in the setting. But they get put down easily enough. But what if that uprising had help, and had been in the works for generations, and is only the first step to something much, much worse? Take Mr. Trucker we were talking about earlier. His passing out? That was no accident. And that thing he saw was the prolonged doom of an entire world. A pure strain Genestealer. With its hypnotic gaze, it pacifies its prey. But it won't kill them, not if they're alone. Instead, it administers something called the Genestealer's Kiss. With its freaky-deaky hentai tongue, it deposits genetic code into its victims, changing them so subtly that the average Imperial medical technology can't detect it. But it's there. It's not easy to pick up the changes, even to the people that know the guy. Small changes in behavior, altered ways of thinking, an increased desire to start a family. Little stuff. The big one is the absolute loyalty to the Genestealer in question. But again, that's only the beginning. In the Imperium, bodies are needed for, well, everything. Factory workers, guardsmen, servitors, battleship cannon loading mechanisms, space marine recruits, serfs. There's a lot of people, and they die shockingly often, and are encouraged to mediate that problem, if you catch my meaning. So they generally see nothing wrong with one of your buddies just waking up one day and suddenly being like, "Hey, I want to start a family." Until the kids start having extra arms. The Genestealer that caused all this, being a sneaky little bastard, tends to book it to the deepest, lowest level of any population center, usually a hive city when it gets there. These things are natural predators, so the hive gangers in the underhive, or even the mutants that find themselves in the sewers, they're not really a problem for this thing. And there it waits. Genestealers are psychic by nature. So, it may not actively be doing much, just kind of curled up in a pipe somewhere, but it will be mentally prodding its victims to go out and do the do like a drunken frat party as often as possible. Meanwhile, babies are happening, and it's terrible. But let's get back on topic to Genestealers. So when an infected individual pops out a little proto-person, a lot of weird things happen. See, normal human babies already do odd things to people's brains. You ever notice that babies are kind of funny looking, but parents swear up and down that they are, quote, the cutest baby ever, TM? That's a biological defense mechanism for humans, so that the babies are protected no matter what. That's why you get stories of like mothers lifting cars to save their kids. It's a biological thing. Like, real talk, I might have actually died at least once if this wasn't a thing. My mom is awesome. So, normal babies already brainwashed their parents. First generation Genestealer babies? Well, they do that too. Except they have needle teeth, and chitinous skin, and extra arms. They're called melignaki. I hope I can get that right. These horrible things are little better than animals, ready to rip and tear with pure, vicious intent. As such, they only really come out to play when shit goes down for a cult. But after the first generation, that's right, the second generation comes along. And these are still multi-armed purple people eaters, but they start having unnerving similarities with humans. Their eyes gleam with a wicked, low intelligence, and their mouths are not a gaping maw of razors like last generations. These ones can wrap their warped alien lips around the language of blue-collar imperial workers. That's right, these ones can speak. With the second-generation hybrids being a little more than mindless beasts, their compact and powerful bodies can be put to work in the lower, unseen sections of the growing industrial sectors the cults usually find themselves in. Mining, fuel refining, sewage work, whatever other manual labor jobs are taken for granted in society. This is where the Genestealer cults get their start. But now the third generation comes up, and that really starts blurring the line between what is and what isn't human anymore. They stand upright, their skin passable shades for freaky mutants that live in an underhive, hiding slighter but more dramatic features that can exist for an alien, like an extra damn arm. These true hybrids are where the senior notable positions of Genestealer hierarchy start to emerge. Two examples are the calm, seemingly passive Genestealer locus, moving about hooded and cloaked. They can be perfectly calm one moment, and ripping adversaries to pieces with frightening speed the next, making them perfect bodyguards for high-ranking brothers and sisters. The other is the Kellermorph, a six-gun toting, masked vigilante, acting as a rallying point for the cult and the downtrodden underclass of the world, and as a sign of rebellion. This is remarkably clever, as in truth the Kellermorph is simply a stylish, cold-blooded killer in service of the cult, designed to have a Robin Hood appeal. They serve as both blade for those who denounce the cult, and bait for those who would fall prey. Finally, we have the fourth generation, called Primasi. They look like us. Well, almost. Small things are different. Slightly bluer skin, pointed fingers, sharper teeth, the telltale forehead ridges. They're all still there, but it's damn close. They've even got the right number of arms. These ones just kind of walk around. They can apply for crewing a ship, or join the state religion of the ecclesiarchy, even enroll in the military of the Imperial Guard. And once they get into those places, that odd look they have tends to become a lot more common. Did I mention Genestealers have psychers yet? Oh yeah, they're called Magus. They also come in this form and generation. They have a subtle ability to manipulate people's minds to the will of the cult and are exceptional negotiators. They also have the second most powerful psychic power next to the Patriarch himself. So they can just blast your mind apart if negotiations break down. Magus are the one primarily responsible with divining the coming of the cult's saviors from beyond the stars, or whatever that particular cult likes to flavor their ultimate doom. Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that. Now here's the fun part about the generational cycle of Genestealers. There is technically a 5th generation. The last to come out is the one that started it all. This is where pure strain Genestealers, like the ones I talked about at the very beginning, come from. 5 generations later. This is kinda how Genestealers win. Because at this point, the cult has ample time to gather followers, make roots in the bedrock of society, infiltrate the highest stations of government and necessary officials. And now they can ship pure strain Genestealers off planet, and this is going to happen all over again. Now, as mentioned before, pure strains are incredibly dangerous, with claws that can hack Space Marine armor into confetti, combined with a blinding speed, stealth, and ideally, numbers. Many elite squads of Terminators have met their end in a rush of screaming claws and teeth. So you're probably asking, why? The Genestealers have taken all of this effort, consumed all these resources, spent all this time infiltrating, supplanting, and undermining worlds in the Imperium of Man. But why? Well, it's quite simple. And awful. Genestealers, for those who don't know, are a type of tyrannid, and a small facet in the swarm of the Great Devourer. It only consumes, and consumes, and consumes. And tyrannids are psychic, after a fashion anyway. The cults, if they get big enough, are a signal flare for the hive mind. Hundreds of thousands of people exist inside a hive city, and 100,000 souls sending out this low-end psychic call across the stars, shouting, "Here! We are here! Come set us free!" And the fleet will hear it, and the hive fleet will answer. As the hive fleet moves on the planet in question, the cult hears them coming, and they execute the end of their plans, the only end state these plans for generations have ever had: a planet-wide revolt. The cult's priests will call for the death of the non-believers. Noble men and women of the Imperial Guard, true men and women, will be turned upon by trusted friends and comrades. Naval pilots will crash their vast ships into planetary defense systems. Monsters will burst forth from the sewers and alleys and dark places in the city, butchering whoever resists with sudden fury. Relatives will come at you with kitchen knives in hand. Industrial mining tools and rock-hauling heavy equipment will tear down the streets, mad cultists on the roof, firing whatever weapons they could find at fleeing civilians. Amidst this mass pandemonium, the planet's remaining true defenders will struggle desperately to get this mass uprising under control, fear and paranoia gripping the hearts of anyone left alive, keeping everyone frayed, tired, and on edge. And then, finally, the hive fleet will descend on the planet. The cultists will cheer and shriek and roar with divine zealous deliverance as their prayers have, very literally, been answered. They will now fight even harder as the hive mind exists control over all of the infected. Suicidal, martyr-like tactics will increase as the hive mind bends all of its will and resources towards consuming this planet. In the feast, the cultists will be spared, for now and the tyrannid swarm bioforms rush the population centers, devouring everyone in their path that isn't a cultist. If the cult succeeds in this horrible attack, and the tyrannids do succeed in consuming all of the planet's biomass, well, their fate is going to be a grim one indeed. You see, when the tyrannids win, they send their surviving drones, the the swarm forms that the Tyranid employ back into a biodissolving pool, and they melt down all of their surviving biomass so it can be recycled and turned into new bioforms later. That's how the hive fleet operates. Now, the hive mind of the Tyranids has, at this point, completely taken control over the cult's brood mind, a smaller form of hive mind amongst the cultists. The cultists' devotion, loyalty, and unwavering faith is rewarded the only way that the alien hive mind can possibly understand. And so, the Tyranid hive mind will direct the cultists to the dissolving pools, and the cultists will willingly jump in. However, as they are on their way down, plummeting towards the acid below, the hive mind severs their connection, and they remember everything with horrible clarity. Every betrayal, every murder, every moment of slavery in the pursuit of freedom. I imagine most are screaming as they hit the acid. Thank you, fellow children of the many-armed God, for listening to the words of this humble servant. I have been Bolter. If you wish to join me in the fight against our oppressors, you can find me spreading the words and the many-armed embrace upon the socials. Be sure to return to my next sermon as I spread the word of Bionicle. Until next time, be ready, my siblings.